husband left me to attend his sister's wedding in another country when I was 9 months pregnant. Original post. I am 35 female. I have been married to my husband Andrew, 39, male, for the last 7 years. We have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant. The primary reason why I'm here is because I need someone to hear me out, and what better than anonymity? My husband has always been close to his family, which I don't find objectionable. During our dating phase, his family was sweet to me whenever we met. But soon after our marriage, I realized that he was really close to his mother and sister. Like, they three have a gang kind of friendship. While this did not impact our relationship as a married couple, I just used to roll my eyes at their gang up, not at me, and moved on. At any social gatherings or parties, they usually sit together and criticize others. Initially, they tried to involve me in their fun activity, but I'm not that kind of a small talk type of person, so I stayed out of it. However, they didn't bother me, so I didn't bother them. While my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were not that warm and friendly with me, they used to stay away from my lane. I too tried to avoid them as much as possible. I didn't enjoy mocking people on their backs and hugging them in front. Anyway, after I conceived my first child, I stopped visiting my in-laws' house. Firstly, I was looking for a reason to cut them off, and second, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were toxic. My husband was a kind and gentle, but God knows what happened to him when he met his mother and sister. He would just transform into a different being. Until my husband was civil with me and at home, I didn't care what he did for those 2 to 3 hours he met his family on the weekends. I gave him that space. When my daughter Sarah was 3, my in-laws started poisoning her ear, saying, "Mama is a bad woman." But my daughter fought back, cried, and said, "Mama's good." She then came home and told me what had happened. My husband laughed at the situation, saying they would have just teased the little girl, but I knew the real intention behind it. Since then, I have never left my daughter alone with those evil women. Things started going south last year when my sister-in-law began dating a wealthy businessman from Scotland. It is understandable that she was over the moon to have found such a man falling for her. But why on earth was my husband so excited about that? It really kept me wondering. To give a little background about my in-laws, my father-in-law retired years ago and lived in his ancestral farmhouse by the countryside. I've met him only a handful of times, and he's a no-nonsense person, unlike others. Probably that's the reason he moved out to seek peace. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law are jobless and surviving on the rent of one of my father-in-law's properties, an allowance from him. My husband also pays his mother a part of his salary as an allowance. I've always been self-dependent, so I don't mind Andrew giving some grants to his mother. Coming back to the main point, ever since my sister-in-law started dating that rich man, her attitude changed completely for the worse. She considers herself to be a princess, or so she would often flash those expensive gifts which she got from her boyfriend at the family gathering or any social event. My sister-in-law left no opportunity to show off to everyone how rich her boyfriend was. The funny part is, my mother-in-law also had her feet floating. She would giggle with sister-in-law like they were both teenagers. Their behavior got on my nerves, and my annoyance was clear on my face. It's not that I'm jealous or so. Why would I be? The thing is, since my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were surviving on a tiny budget, they never crossed their line because they barely had anything to show off or look down upon me. However, with her newfound love, they both subtly tried to demean me and accuse me of being jealous of them. Of course, they didn't say this to my face, but I got the hint from their body language, and some of the relatives also confirmed the same thing. Soon after this, I got pregnant with my second child, and thank God it saved me from visiting their place. Andrew would insist that I let Sarah spend time with them alone, but Sarah wouldn't budge. She is 5 and she doesn't want to be with them. I know some of you would blame me for turning my daughter against my in-laws. Let me tell you, children have better senses than adults. They can differentiate between love and fakeness. My first pregnancy was difficult. I was put on bed rest, but my in-laws never visited to check on me. The second one is comparatively easier, but they visit me often. No, not to check on me, but to show off their jewelry and collection and trendy dress or a bag worth thousands of dollars. My sister-in-law would just go gaga over her boyfriend's richness and how they were planning for a grand wedding in Scotland and so on. I just nodded with a plastered smile on my face. Inside my breath, good for you. A week ago, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up out of the blue. They started praising my cooking. Sister-in-law said that she loved the apple pie and bacon donuts I made. Rather than being happy, I got suspicious of their gesture. I asked them why they suddenly remembered that dessert, and I had served them probably years ago. They were taken aback by that, and instead of thanking them for their kind words, I directly jumped to the point. Sister-in-law said that she had been craving an apple pie for a long time, and none of the restaurants were able to match the taste that I baked. So she wanted me to prepare those for her. I thanked them and told them I wasn't keeping well, and baking would take additional effort, which I couldn't manage with pregnancy and a toddler. They were not ready to take no for an answer and still insisted that I bake it for her. I could not push it back further, and I said I would try to bake it whenever I felt okay. My sister-in-law hugged me the first time after my wedding and said that she wanted it on Sunday. I didn't say anything further or notice why she asked me to leave it on Sunday. To be honest, I didn't intend to make it at all. I said I'd try just to dodge the bullet at the moment. As the week progressed, I was so exhausted with my pregnancy and Sarah that I forgot about the whole thing. On a Friday night during dinner, Andrew told me that he would be busy for the weekend, as sister-in-law's boyfriend and his family were visiting them for dinner that Sunday. I was shocked at that moment. Everything made sense to me. That sudden praise request for an apple pie and bacon donuts, why did she want it on Sunday? Well, I know I baked the best apple pie one would have had. I mean, I'm truly good at it, but this doesn't mean I would give in to their trap. I informed Andrew about his mother and sister's visit and the request for the dessert. Andrew said that his sister-in-law's boyfriend and his Scottish family have a sweet tooth, and they've heard a lot about American apple pie and wanted to taste the authentic one. Andrew almost blurted out how his sister-in-law had boasted about herself that she could bake the rest of this dessert and promised to serve his family during family dinner. I was aghast. I told Andrew that I was not going to take up his hard work in his condition when someone else was going to take their credit for it. And on top of that, I was not even invited to the dinner. He said I was in my 7th month and his mother thought that I would be uncomfortable in front of the guests, so they skipped inviting me. Even if I believe her intention to be genuine, which it's not, why didn't they tell me about the dinner when they visited me asking for the dessert? Andrew just shrugged his shoulders and said he didn't know. Andrew went to pick up his father on Saturday and said he would return home on Sunday night after dinner. Of course, I wanted to make a big deal of it and fight with Andrew, but I chose my mental peace, knowing that whatever I did would not stop him from attending that function on Sunday. I deliberately switched off my phone and locked myself in my room with Sarah. I guess my mother-in-law and sister-in-law tried to contact me on my cell phone, and when it was not reachable, they sent a voicemail on the landline. I ignored the call on my landline as well. Although I was not at peace, knowing that they would curse me for backing out, I felt satisfied that I didn't give in to their demands. On Monday morning, when I switched on my phone, I saw my phone flooded with missed calls and voice messages. It started with pleadings and ended with curses. As soon as they got the notification that their messages were delivered to me, I got a call from my mother-in-law. Oh God, that was the longest monologue I ever heard. I always knew her true colors, but that day I got to know her bitter tongue. She accused me of ruining their dinner party and called me a witch. Apparently they thought I would get the dessert, so they didn't prepare or order any dessert because my sister-in-law wanted to impress her would-be in-laws by posing my food as hers. So in the end, the sweet-toothed Scots had to leave the dinner table without any dessert and a sense of dissatisfaction. And guess what? I get the blame of their disappointment. While my mother-in-law showered me with curses, I could only imagine their funny faces at the dinner table. I was wondering if it wasn't a big deal, they could have just ordered something from the outside. I knew my sister-in-law boasted over culinary skills, but restaurant-made stuff could have at least saved them from the embarrassment. Anyway, that's not my problem. I told the same and hung up the call. Besides all those messages from mother-in-law and sister-in-law, There was one late night message from Andrew that he wouldn't return that night. He would be back on Monday after work. When Andrew returned home in the evening, he was silent but not angry. I tried to tell him what his mother had told me, but he cut me off saying he did not want to be dragged into the situation. He said I should be lucky he was not scolding me for embarrassing his family last night, so I should not expect him to take my stand against whatever his mother and sister said to me. I lost my mind at this. I didn't take his mother and sister's word seriously because I knew they were evil, but what the heck was Andrew up to? I mean, first of all, he should have taken a stand when I was cut off from the family dinner. How on earth am I responsible for ruining an event to which I was not even invited to? It's been since then and we're not on talking terms. Neither he nor I have made any effort to talk it out, although in my mind, I feel I am so done with them. Deep down, I sabotaged myself thinking, did I really ruin the reputation by turning down their demand? I don't know, guys. Now for the updates. Update 1. Hi all, it's been 2 months since my original post. I'm in my 40th week, just almost about to pop. So in the aftermath of my last post, I realized that I have been way too tolerant of my husband. After 2 weeks of that incident, I had to go for my scan where Andrew accompanied me. On our way home, I tried to discuss the situation, but he asked me to move on and focus on my health. He was also normal by then. I took it positively that he did not hold on to any grudge, but somewhere I felt this behavior to be secretive. Just today this morning, I woke up to see Andrew packing his bags. When I opened my eyes, he was trying to stuff his wedding suit into one of his bags. I shivered at that sight and almost yelled at him, asked him the reason for the packing. He said he was going to Scotland for his sister's wedding. I was lost for words. I mean, when? How did this happen? I bombarded him with questions. When the date got fixed, why was I not informed? And on top of that, how could he leave me on my due date? Yes, I'm due tomorrow. He tried his best to dodge the question or answer them in a single syllable. I told him that he could just not avoid me like that. I was angry, hurt, sad, shocked, all at the same time. Could you imagine your husband leaving you alone with a toddler during your due date? I can't express more. I won't lie that I was calm. I held his shoulder and nudged him for an answer. He said that it was planned at the last moment and he had to go. His sisters-in-laws insisted on this particular date and he couldn't do anything about it. Of course, he can do everything about it. He can skip the wedding. While we were in the middle of this, our doorbell rang. Andrew rushed to answer it as if he was expecting someone. That was his mother. She barged into the house shouting at Andrew for running late. She dragged his bags outside the room saying that he didn't need to pack the remaining stuff because whatever was short, they could buy from Scotland. The sentence came out as if to mock me. I wanted to smack her head at the moment when she smirked at me. I realized that it was too late to stop Andrew and fight over it. So I went back to my room, threw the remaining of Andrew's packed bag in the living room and locked the door. I heard my mother-in-law cursing at me at the top of her voice. They left shortly after that. I then realized why Andrew had acted so secretly for the last month, and I was thinking that he was just torn between me and his family. I was in deep pain, both mentally and physically, crying out my heart. I realized that the chaos woke up my daughter Sarah. She came to me and hugged me and said that I would be fine, and I should be excited because we would soon have a baby in the house. Her innocent words melted my heart. I kind of wrapped her in my arms. We spent the day playing in bed. I tried to keep myself distracted, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get over the fact that Andrew abandoned me in this situation. I'm breaking down every now and then. I've called up my sister to stay with me tomorrow because I don't know when my labor will kickstart. I had to make this update today because what happened today is choking me. Wish me a healthy and peaceful labor. Update 2. Hello everybody, I know it's been months since I updated. First of all, I'm blessed with a baby boy. Thank you. So that day soon after my post, I logged into my Facebook and saw Andrew happily posting pictures of himself and his family enjoying Scotland. I just couldn't hold myself back and broke down. It was past midnight and Sarah was fast asleep. I went to the washroom and let my emotions flow. I had been holding it in throughout the day in front of Sarah. I cried for almost an hour. I was on the verge of fainting when I realized that my water had broken. I somehow crawled to the living room and called the ambulance. I have a very hazy and vague memory of what happened in between. The next thing that I remember was being in the ambulance carried to the hospital. When my condition stabilized, I cried out Sarah's name. The nurse said that they found Sarah crying beside me while I was passing in and out of consciousness. As the house was empty, they brought Sarah along with them. I was relieved that my daughter was safe. Within a few minutes of arriving at the hospital, I gave birth to my baby boy. The nurse said that they had tried to contact my husband, but his number was unavailable. My sister arrived in the wee hours of the morning. She lived 120 miles away. When my sister got to know about my situation, she rebuked me for not calling her earlier. I thought I had a day before. She also asked me to get rid of Andrew ASAP. Since I was discovered in such a situation by the hospital officials, they informed the police regarding the same. The police asked me if my husband abused or assaulted me because they perceived that I was abandoned in that condition. I told them the truth. I was not physically assaulted, but mentally and emotionally, yes. Andrew was charged with negligent charges. His negligence indeed threatened 3 lives: Sarah, my unborn baby, and mine. It gives me chills that what might have gone wrong that day if I couldn't call the ambulance at the right time. I feel so grateful for the Lord that He has kept us safe. I was discharged 2 days later. By then, my parents had also arrived. They lived 1,500 miles away. My parents were adamant about suing Andrew and his family for mentally torturing me during my pregnancy. They packed up my stuff from the house while I was still in the hospital. I too didn't want to stay with Andrew anymore. Who would want such a kind of a husband? After being discharged, I went to my hometown with my parents and sister. It was almost a week after my delivery that Andrew returned home. It appeared from his Facebook activity that they extended their stay after the wedding to explore Scotland. It amazed me to see how stress-free he enjoyed his vacation. I'm bothered that his wife was due during that period. He didn't even call or text during that period. I also didn't disturb him because I planned to ruin him and his family. A week later, when he returned, he found an empty house, a legal notice of divorce, and charges the police pressed with him. He had a week to appear before the police to give his statement. He panicked and called me hundreds of times. I won't lie, I enjoyed the sight of his endless calls and pleading voicemails. Soon I got calls from my mother-in-law and voicemails begging me to talk to them. I told my parents about it. They called Andrew and asked him to visit our house. He flew down to our house, and on the very next day, with his mother, my parents humiliated both of them for torturing me and threatened to ruin both of their lives. Andrew insisted on talking to me in private. He literally begged me for forgiveness and reconciliation. He started emotionally trapping me by saying that our child needs a father too, and I shouldn't deprive them of happiness. I asked him the gender of our second child, and he was dead silent. My boy was a week old, but his father didn't even know that he was born. Do you think a child needs that kind of father? His mother too pleaded for forgiveness, saying that these court cases would damage their reputation in front of their new relatives, sister-in-laws, and in-laws, but I didn't care. I just laughed at the reason. Ultimately, when they were asked to leave, they insisted on seeing the newborn, but I didn't want their eyes or shadow on my children. My father chased them out of the house. Meanwhile, I contacted my sister-in-law's new husband on social media. I introduced myself as we had never met. To my surprise, he was also suspicious of Andrew and his family when they kept me aside from the family dinner and the wedding on the excuse of pregnancy. I told him about everything which happened to me. He said he was surprised to find Andrew chilling out during the wedding while leaving his wife in labor. Although it was too late, he asked me about my sister-in-law, and I told the truth about her nature and also about that apple pie thing. He said that their behavior was indeed shady, but now it made sense to him. Apparently, my sister-in-law had posed herself to be a chef, and my mother-in-law boosted her lies, saying that they owned a chain of restaurants on the countryside. I revealed the truth that his new lovely wife has never even boiled an egg. He called her a gold digger and assured me he would keep our conversation discreet. I told him I wasn't bothered even if he revealed that I had exposed all the truth. In fact, I wanted them to know it was me. It has been 10 months since that D-Day. My divorce got finalized last week. I got sufficient alimony on the grounds of maternal and child negligence due to mental torture during pregnancy and safety hazards. I got the share in the house too because I too had contributed when we bought the house. I have given the ultimatum of 3 months for Andrew to pay my house share or else it'll be put up for auction. Plus, I got child support too. The interesting part is soon after my conversation with the sister-in-law's husband, I got a text from my sister-in-law accusing me of ruining her life. Later, I got to know that her husband got an investigation done into my in-laws' family background. The truth was revealed that they were not wealthy, and as they had posed themselves to be, and my sister-in-law had also lied about many other things, including her job. As per the information from some of the gossip monger relatives, the Scotts have sent back Andrew's sister and have filed for divorce. They have accused her of money laundering. Apparently, she was stealing money from her in-laws' locker and sending it to her mother. Her husband labeled her a gold digger. Regarding Andrew, he has sold the house to pay my share and other penalties. He now lives with his parents. His mother said that I'm the witch who had done black magic on her son, and that's why they are suffering. I laughed at her reasoning. My parents wanted me to sue them for every penny, but I didn't want to stretch the issue more. I've got enough to live peacefully with my children. People would say that I took revenge, but in reality, I was saving myself. Revenge is sweet when it happens by chance. They never thought that their actions would lead them to such a consequence. They thought they were too smart for the world. I'm not writing this to boast or be an example. I just wanted to share my journey, how life unfolds in mysterious ways. Thank you for listening. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for shouting at my mom for embarrassing me at dinner? I, 19 male, recently got a really good first job at the same company as my dad, 38. No, this isn't nepotism. My dad has been at this company since he was about 18 and just told me they had an entry-level position open. He had nothing to do with my landing the job. He works in a completely different sector. My parents had me young. My mom was 17 and my dad was 19. Met at 17 and 18. So they were proud of me to see me doing well in life as when they were at my age. They were struggling with a baby and my mom was trying to get herself through college and the university. So to celebrate me getting this job, my mom, 37, planned a big dinner with my dad, uncles, 3 of them, herself, my little sister, and my grandparents on her side, and my paternal grandparents died not long before me being born. One important thing to mention is that my mom is on the autism spectrum and also has an eating disorder called ARFID. This makes it hard for her to eat new foods and basically has been eating the same things since she was born. At this dinner, my mom allowed me to pick the place where we went to. I chose a really nice restaurant my dad had taken me to when I got accepted to the university at the beginning of this year. It is quite expensive, but my mom was more than happy to bring me there as I had seriously loved it when my dad brought me. At the dinner, my mom looked over the menu and pulled a face. I immediately knew what was going to happen. My mom had to ask for a kids menu for my 8-year-old little sister, and after my sister chose something off of that, she looked over it. When the waitress came over, we all ordered, and my 37-year-old mother ordered off the kids menu. I kind of sank into my chair and had a red face all night as everyone at the table ate adult food. My mom was eating kids' food. When we got home, I lost it at my mom, and I might have been a complete asshole here, but this is how it's been my entire life. I just wanted one night where my mom would eat like a normal person and not embarrass me at a dinner that was meant to be about my success. While in the midst of me asking her why she has to be like this, my mom started crying and apologizing and kept repeating, "You know how hard it is for me. And do you not think I'm also embarrassed?" Which is her go-to whenever anyone tried to pull her up about her eating habits. My dad later said that I was an asshole for shouting at my mom when she had done so much and spent so much just so that I could have a nice dinner with the whole family, but I don't think I am because she could have just not eaten or ordered some bread instead of eating off the kids' menu. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Okay, so I'm certainly 100% without a doubt an absolute raging asshole. Just tried to type a whole explanation out, but I exceeded the character limit, so please read my comments. Thank you for making me see how much of an ungrateful brat I was being. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.